Hey Cinema Blend fans, host Eric Eisenberg here, welcoming you to Hero Blend number 3. This week we're talking about all kinds of new casting developments in both the DC and Marvel universe, so check it out. How's it going? I am here this week with entertainment editor Roth Cornet from IGN. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the Iron Man glove.
Absolutely. I'm glad. It looks great on you, I gotta say.
Thank you. I feel very empowered.
Very few people can wear that other than Tony Stark, but you can rock it. So.
All right.
So the big thing that we're going to talk about this week is we have some huge casting stories developing in kind of the general comic book movie world. We have Jesse Eisenberg coming aboard Batman vs. Superman as Lex Luthor. We have Jeremy Irons coming aboard as Alfred Pennyworth. And on the Marvel side of things, you have Evangeline Lilly apparently in early talks for Edgar Wright's AntMan. So let's kind of...
some news with The Rock, too.
Yeah, we also got some thrown in there. Maybe. Who knows what that's going to turn into. But let's start with the DC. Let's start with Jesse Eisenberg, because this is kind of the big news. This is a move that really surprised a lot of people. It's a young Lex Luthor. It's Jesse Eisenberg, who, like, a lot of people have opinions about him. Let's put it that way. But I'm curious, what is your kind of initial takeaway from this casting?
I was really taken aback at first because I really thought it was a counterintuitive choice.
Okay.
I think a lot of people felt that way. We'd been fantasy casting.
Of course, yeah.
You know, of course, we talked about...
Bryan Cranston was kind of the natural choice. The Heisenberg look kind of permeated the whole bald Lex Luthor thing.
I never thought that that was an actual thing that was going to happen.
And it turns out that it wasn't. So.
And it wasn't, right.
Yeah.
And so... So I was taken aback, and then when I thought about it, I thought this is actually, it does make sense, you know, because it's like they're taking the character from The Social Network and making him Lex Luthor. We think. I mean, they could be going a different direction. I think, though, that that's really what it is.
Yes.
And it sort of gives a contemporary feel to the movie. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, this is a guy that's constantly going after Superman. Sort of in a technological way. So what is it going to be? An internet sort of attack?
Yeah, exactly.
Is it going to be a virus?
Technology versus a land deal, which is something that we've seen from the 40-year-old Lex Luthors and Gene Hackman and Kevin Spacey. But, I mean, another aspect of that youth... I mean, well, the reason why I'm so personally excited for the Jesse Eisenberg casting is basically Lex Luthor and Mark Zuckerberg. I can see a lot of connections between these characters. Lex Luthor is a character who has spent his entire life trying to achieve the best. He's incredibly smart. He's innovative. He has incredible ambition, but at the same time, here's this guy, Superman, comes down from space. He's absolutely perfect in every way. The world fucking loves him. That's obviously going to cause some conflict.
Well, yeah.
And I think Jesse Eisenberg has that exact kind of level of arrogance and just intensity that I think can match that personality really well.
Absolutely. I like Jesse Eisenberg a lot as an actor. I think people would complain that he sort of has one note. He probably does kind of have one note. He does it very well.
He does.
But he's easy to dislike. He's very easy to dislike, and I think that makes sense for this character. And I
think it is a villain.
Yeah, we don't know sort of what iteration of Lex they're going for here, but if they're going for the guy who had it rough as a kid, kind of fought his way up, you know, from nothing, and then here comes this guy, and he's got the world on a plate just because he was born.
Exactly.
You could see how that would piss him off.
Oh yeah.
But there's some people that are speculating, hey, maybe he's not even really a villain at first. Maybe he's a person that says, look at the destruction that this guy wreaked.
He could be trying to be the savior of Metropolis after this alien suddenly came out of fucking nowhere and destroyed the entire city.
And maybe he has a god complex in that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's an interesting choice. I'm sort of more intrigued to see the film now. And look at the casting. I mean, it's such an array of ages.
Oh yeah, totally.
You know, it's such a demographic array in terms of, like, you've got all of these Academy Award winning and nominated actors. Then you've got Gal Gadot, who came from the Fast and the Furious. It's such an odd mix. It
is, and I think it's going to be interesting. And kind of from there we can bridge into the conversation about Jeremy Irons as Alfred, which I think is kind of... I think it's kind of it's the choice that we expected. It's a revered British actor. Obviously, he's kind of stepping into the shoes left by Michael Caine. It's an interesting... I'm curious what you think about it, though.
That one actually took me back a little bit more even than Jesse Eisenberg.
Really?
Because I felt like my brain could reconcile, okay, I get it. It's Zuckerberg as Luthor. That's sort of interesting right away. And with Jeremy Irons, I was like, okay, this is not the Alfred that we've been seeing in the Nolan films, who is the anchor for Bruce Wayne.
Yes, absolutely.
This is the badass, you know? This is like the Secret Service, like, I can kick your ass, Batman.
Jeremy Irons, I think when he is 100, he'll probably have the ability to kind of stare at somebody and you'll just get the sense that he could kick their ass. So he's definitely one of those personalities.
I feel like it's Alfred seasoned with murder, you know? I mean, and it raises all kinds of interesting questions for me because he's so menacing.
Yes.
Just being there, just standing, just his presence, way more so than Ben Affleck. And so do we have a scarier Alfred than we do Batman? Do they go the route of making the villainous Alfred? I mean, I don't think so. That'd be very confusing for a film that already is packed with characters.
And there's also, this is a dark, as we've been told, this is a version of Batman who is seasoned, he is gritty, and he's tired, he's weary. And honestly, it may just be a reflection of the Batman that we're seeing on the Alfred, that this is an Alfred who's served by Batman's side for years and years, and he's kind of in that same kind of place where all of a sudden there's this alien coming down again and causing trouble. Who knows this is going to be a very interesting world that we're entering into.
Yeah, and if you guys don't know, there's a precedence for Alfred who is that person, who is that sort of like almost being the butler is his secret identity, you know, and I think that is a very interesting tactic to take with this character as well, if that's what we're going to see.
Sure, but I mean, it's a new direction. Who knows what we're going to get out of it? There's endless possibilities.
Just really quickly, do you feel like, sort of The Rock, we know he's doing something with DC. Yes. We think it's possible that it could be part of this film as well.
It could be part of this film. It could be part of a Justice League plan. It could be just a cameo at the end. Who knows what's actually going on? Hell, he's not even fully admitting exactly what's going on. But, it is an interesting idea. I think, obviously, the main thought process when it comes to Dwayne Johnson right now is the idea of him playing John Stewart, Green Lantern. Although
he sort of hinted that he was.
He has hinted at it. He's on Twitter, kind of done some little hashtagging, all that kind of nonsense. But is
it getting too full as one movie? That's my only question.
Well, I'm not going to reject the idea of them building towards a future. Obviously, right now, the name of the game in comic book movies is be like Marvel, build a bigger universe. So I'm not going to fault them for kind of building to something larger. Whether they're moving too fast is another question. Yes. But so now let's switch over to the Marvel side of things, where we get news that Evangeline Lilly, Lost fame, obviously was just in The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug, is now in early talks to play the female lead of Edgar Wright's AntMan. Now, the interesting thing about this is that the trade report didn't specify exactly who she would be playing. She's a female lead.
But theorized.
There is a theory, of course, that when you're thinking about a female lead in Ant-Man, you're thinking Janet Van Dyne. But how does that work with an actress Evangeline Lilly's age and Hank Pym being played by Michael Douglas? Obviously, they are husband-wife characters.
Unless they have a May-September romance or something.
Could happen. The trade report from Variety suggested that maybe she's going to be playing Hank Pym's daughter and that she's going to be a romantic interest for Paul Rudd's Scott Lang character.
Which would make more sense, but it's a really interesting way to take a foundation from what's happening in the comics and really play with it.
Absolutely.
Which I like, actually.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't like a verbatim translation of the comics. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, DC, any of these comic book universes, they're their own thing, and they should be celebrating the fact that they can be something different than what we've seen for years and years.
So if that is the casting and she is playing the Wasp, do you think that there's going to be a fan response that is the stalwarts that are feeling resistant to the idea of sort of playing with that history?
I think there is, but honestly, if you just look at the reaction to Tauriel in The Hobbit, this is a character who didn't exist in the original text, was included because J.R.R. Tolkien's book, she was fantastic in it. J.R.R. Tolkien's book didn't have any female leads. She just took it on, and being a huge Hobbit fan herself, she was mindful of what that meant, and she ended up being one of the best parts of the movie, and I think you'd agree with that fact.
No, I absolutely agree with that. I love Evangeline Lilly. I think she's a fine actress. She's really, I just sort of think she has a presence. She really is one of those people that you like to watch on screen, or at least I do.
Yeah.
But she was great as Tauriel. I absolutely agree. For me, she was one of my favorite parts of that movie. So I would love to see her in a comic book film.
Sure.
I'll be honest.
As Janet Van Dyne, I think she has that kind of peppy personality that would be absolutely perfect for that kind of character.
It's weird, though, because she has traditionally played sort of darker characters or more warlike or more with sort of warrior spirits, which will lend itself also to this character in a sort of interesting interpretation. But I don't know. I think that is a good character to have in the movie, and she is a great actress to sort of take it on.
She has a lot of presence, and I'm very excited for it. So let's talk parting thoughts. You have this huge group of actors kind of coming into these comic book worlds. What you thinking about it?
You know, I think it's an exciting time in movies. I do wonder, there's a lot that goes on sort of in the DC Warner Brothers side that leaves me like this.
A little bit, sure.
They become head scratchers because we're going to see The Flash, the pilots being shot for the CW, Arrow's on the CW. I think I did an interview with David Goyer where I said, you know, do you have any real concerns about, there does not seem to be synergy versus in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, we have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of taking over the TV space, and also the Netflix deal. There's a lot of room there.
There's a lot of synergy. They're very conscious of that.
Yes.
Synergy, that's such a corporate word, but it's true.
It's true, it's what it is.
And I guess my curiosity is, and maybe you guys have ideas, how would the fan base respond if you have these characters that are sort of beloved on these television shows, and then it's a different actor playing them in the film? What Goyer said to me was like, hey, listen, Smallville was on at the same time as Bryan Singer's
Superman Returns,
and nobody lost their minds. Fair enough. I think we're in a post-Marvel world now. I think that the audience has been trained to expect that amount of synergy.
That's fair.
And I think it's a dangerous move to have multiple people playing these characters in possibly multiple TV shows, multiple films, things like that.
All over the place.
But you know, I'm cautiously optimistic.
That's fair enough. Well, thanks so much for being on the show with me, and hopefully have you again.